Well, here we are. One last chance to read the tea leaves. A few hours left of reading the tea leaves before reading tea leaves becomes utterly meaningless. And a careful analysis or a lucky guess are made utterly irrelevant by the arrival of reality. So just for this afternoon, just for a few hours before the polls close and we finally and hopefully know the answer, let's bring in two men who've been with us through four long years of fighting and struggling. It's Steve Green and Scott Ott, ladies and gentlemen. Well, boys, it's showtime. Now, as we woke up this morning, virtually all the major polls showed pretty much a dead heat. But as many of our viewers know, the only way that you can call 1,000 people in a phone sample across the country and have them speak for 130 million other people is by careful weighing of the responses. And the only way you can weight the responses by making assumptions about who's going to turn out. For example, in 2008, at the height of the Obama tsunami, voter turnout among Democrats was historic, and Republicans, who were dispirited with the economy, and especially John McCain, largely sat it out. So in 2008, the Democratic turnout was about +8. That's 8 points higher than Republicans. Now, Scott, this year, most of the polls showing Obama tied with Romney still have Democrats turning out in greater numbers than Republicans, in many cases as large as or greater than 2008. Do you think that the Democrats are going to outnumber Republicans today?
Well, it's hard to imagine that they will. And you can only do things that are sort of anecdotal at this point because there's no real good research. There's nobody out there gathering the kind of data that would give us a real indication of whether the trend of 2010 is continued on an upward trajectory. This morning, I was out from 7 o'clock to a little bit after 11 o'clock at a polling place in Emmaus, Pennsylvania. And it was me and another guy who was backing State Representative Ryan McKenzie standing there handing out information. And a young college-age kid approached us at one point, and he very sort of snarkily and smart-aleckily asked us some questions. And then he said, "Where are the Obama people?" And I said, "That's a good question." And I said, maybe they decided that things didn't turn out as well as they would have liked over the last 4 years. And as he left us and went into the polling place, he said, "Well, there's always hope." And so, here's at my polling place, there are no Democrats at all for any candidate there trying to reach voters as they went into the polls. The other thing is, the other night at a Victory Center, when I was making some phone calls with my family to get people out to vote, a nice little lady who was probably maybe late 50s, early 60s, said after she did several hours of phone calls, she was going to go home and watch a movie. While she was watching the movie, she was filling out postcards for Republican candidates that she was going to mail to friends. And then the next day, she was going to go door to door in Bangor, Pennsylvania. That little woman is going to be the story of the 2012 election because there are tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of them out there.
Bless them all, and bless you too, Scotty. That's why you're a better man than I am, because you work the phone banks. Steve, let's see what evidence there is for voter enthusiasm, because there's been some interesting developments in the days leading up to this election. In 2008, Obama held a rally and got 80,000 people. Now this year in the same city, he got about 4,000 people. All across the country, we're seeing his numbers way down, and Romney has suddenly surged to kind of nearly the turnout that Obama enjoyed 4 years ago. Now, is this kind of stuff important, or is it utterly irrelevant?
Well, it's an indicator. There's an old expression that yard signs don't vote, so you can't just count the yard signs and figure out who's going to win the election. But Ed Gillespie this morning, the Republican strategist, said the most dead-on thing. He said the most dangerous place in the world today is between a Republican and the voting booth. There is a spirit. It's true. There's a spirit. There's an energy that is driving this thing. We saw it in 2010. We did. You think that's gone away? People voted in that wave election for Congress in 2010 because it was their protest against Obama. Well, now we've got the real deal. His name is on the ballot, and so is that other guy, that Mitt Romney fellow, who people like me were willing to hold our nose and vote for just because it was an anti-Obama vote. But over the last couple of weeks, polling of Republican voters has shown that Republicans have switched from voting anti-Obama to voting pro-Romney. And when you've got 5, 6 to double-digit leads with independents, I think it's a done deal. Reports coming out of Ohio right now are looking good. Same thing with Virginia. It might be a long night, but I don't think so.
I agree completely. I agree completely. I was ready to vote for anybody. I said I'd vote for a mop against Obama, but I have come to actually really, really admire, actually love Mitt Romney. After the Al Green dinner, I just said I could really get behind this guy. Now, Scotty, you're a politician, and we don't hold that against you. and you've also been a journalist, which we do hold against you. Many papers have endorsed Obama in 2008. They flipped to Romney in 2012, and many of these are in blue states. Now, here's the interesting point. Most people tend to think that the newspaper endorsement will change the minds of their readers. But I think in a real sense, it's exactly the other way around. I think it's the mood of the readers that changes the newspaper endorsement. Now, if you've lost a liberal newspaper editorial board, what do you think that means for the average voting population?
Well, I think it's a little bit of what you suggest. I also think it's a bit of market activity here. What I mean is it's the kind of gambling that goes on within political parties. When you see who people are throwing their support and money behind, it's because they think they're going to win. It's not because they necessarily support them in principle. It's just that they don't want to be embarrassed of having backed the loser. And the same thing happens with newspapers. These newspapers don't want to be in a position of having lost all credibility a couple of days after the election when people realize, hey, you were completely in the tank for Barack Obama, and he got thumped in the polls because you weren't on track with the American people. The newspaper editor is desperately trying to find where the American public is going and get out in front of them and pretend he's leading.
That's well said. Steve, anecdotally, and I can't stress this enough, anecdotally, it looks like turnout so far is very heavy in most of the country, but lower in deep blue areas. Now, do you think we might be something today that the polls miss? Things like, people waiting 3 hours in line to get a Chick-fil-A sandwich in Wisconsin, and the size of the rallies and all the rest. Do you think there's a chance that something really monumental could happen today?
Well, there are a couple of things to remember, one of which people who answer polls are, by definition, freaks. 1 in 11 Americans actually will take the pollster's call. You are not normal if you take a call from a pollster and sit all the way through it. You are a freak. There's something very, very wrong with you. And after this year, I think pollsters are going to have to seriously think about their business model and how they conduct themselves, how they reach people. Which brings me to Nate Silver, whose own prediction model is moving opposite the direction of the candidates themselves. They're sending Bill Clinton for 18 appearances or whatever it is in Pennsylvania. Joe Biden today on Tuesday on Election Day is making an emergency stop in Ohio. You track the candidates. That's a much better indicator than the polls. You don't increase your certainty while the candidates are showing panic.
That Silver kid looks like he may know what he's talking about once he gets out of junior high school. Folks, I've been speaking at Tea Party events, usually once a month or so, for the past 3 years. Every month or so, for the past 3 years, 50 people, 100, 200, 300 people. These are people who've never been politically active in their lives, and they've spent the last 3 years preparing for today. There are signs of what I've been referring to as an underground river, kind of the movement of a sleeping giant, a flow of patient, quiet determination that every century or so rocks the foundations of this country to the core. I personally believe we're going to see that today, but only if you make a decision to be part of it, and we know you will. So I'd like to close by saying this. A little over 4 years ago, we started PJTV to get you the news and commentary that presents a different side to the stories of the world. We hope that that's been your side. We want to thank all of you for your membership and for supporting the three of us and all of the producers and the tech crews and all the rest. It's been an honor to have been some small part of your voice in this fight for the soul of the country that we all love. And finally, I just want to say that not quite 4 years ago, I had breakfast in a restaurant in Washington, D.C. with two men I had admired from afar back in the old blogosphere days, men whose writing at Scrapple Face and Vodka Pundit kept me laughing and informed and kept my spirits up during these dark 4 years. By doing the show for 3 or 4 years now, Steve Green and Scott Ott have become like brothers to me, and I want my last words on what will hopefully be the last trifecta before we throw this rotten man out of office to be that I think you guys are both soldiers and you're both patriots and you're two of the best men I've ever met. It's been an honor and a privilege and the single joy of my professional life to share a little box with you two fine fellas. So folks, win or lose today, we're still here, we're still going to be here, and so will the United States of America. Now go do your duty. For PJTV, I'm Bill Whittle.